Hey everybody, in this video we're going to go over Peter Brandt and a pattern that's happening for Bitcoin. It's a pattern that he pointed out back at 17,000, so I don't know if this is actually a bearish pattern or a bullish pattern, considering after 17,000 we dropped down to 15,000 and that did mark the bear market all-time low, at least for that cycle, back all the way in 2022. So we're going to talk about this article. We're also going to go over Bitcoin on the chart. We're going to go over Cleanspark on the chart, and we're going to look at Cleanspark's mining update. So first off, this article by our buddy Peter Brandt. Bitcoin is again forming a 3 blind mice pattern. Now he mentions this pattern, says it's basically a continuation. We're going to see more sell-off because of this pattern. One thing to realize is the last time he mentioned a pattern like this was back in December 2022. Bitcoin was 17K. Entered a week-long slump, went down to 15,000s before breaking out in January of 2023. Is Peter trying to tell us that we're near the bottom, or is he trying to be bearish like always? He goes on to say only a close above 71,000 confirmed by a new all-time high will indicate that the trend from November 2022 low remains in force. To me, Peter Brandt is blind to Bitcoin. Rather than fixating on a pattern, follow the cycle. And just the fact that he's pointing this pattern out when it nearly marked the bottom last time it was a pattern, last time it flashed on the charts, if anything, that's a very bullish sign in my opinion. Now, while we have bearish Peter Brandt being bearish like always, we have some very bullish whales lately. We have whales that bought over 50,000 Bitcoin in just 10 days, but how much money is that? Now, this is Ali Martinez's chart, and it's basically showing whales or wallets that have 1,000 to 10,000 Bitcoin. They are accumulating this blue thing here down at the bottom under Bitcoin's price. They are accumulating. They are adding. While Bitcoin dropped, whales, the smart money, is adding. While we look like we were peaking out, the whales were actually trimming. But whales, you can see that the amount of whales is at a higher level than we were at the beginning of this chart. We're basically at an all-time high. And this 50,000 Bitcoin is valued at just over $3 billion. And we can't escape Peter Brandt. Here's another mention of him. Peter Brandt cautioned that the recent rally has not disrupted Bitcoin's pattern of lower highs and lower lows. He is correct. Remember, trends are made to be broken, and just like 2020, the series of lower highs and lower lows, it was eventually broken and Bitcoin went on to rally and finish off its cycle. I do expect the same here. And I have showed you guys before, but I will show you again because I just mentioned it. Last cycle, the series of lower highs and lower lows. Look at that. Imagine getting shaken out. Back last cycle at like 7,000. Getting shaken out at like 5,000. Getting shaken out at like 11,000. What did Bitcoin do? Ran all the way to almost 70,000. If you got shaken out along the way, you know, that's just part of the game. That is part of the emotion driving moves that Bitcoin does. It is very hard to hold from the bottom of one cycle to the top of that cycle. Not everyone will do it. Think about right now how many people are unsure if Bitcoin will go on to rally, if Bitcoin is done, if this is going to be the weakest cycle ever. Why? Why do we think that? Why does anyone think that? When whales are loading up, when spot Bitcoin ETFs continue to rake in billions of dollars. The only bearish ones right now are retail, and that makes me very, very bullish. Now, what doesn't make me bullish is this recent test of our 50 MA. If we break this 50 MA, we are probably heading down to 57.5 to then see how this zone holds up. But this is a very important point. Either we're going to bounce here at the 50 MA, try to take out that 200 and get them to cross, or we're going to fail it and test some lower levels, and it'll take a little bit longer until we do break out. But in my opinion, this series of lower lows and lower highs that Peter Brandt likes to mention, this pattern will break just like the 2020 cycle. And the price you pay for Bitcoin, the price you pay to ride the ride, is the crazy ups and downs. If you jump out early, you don't get to experience the whole ride. If you get nauseous on the first huge drop, you're not going to make it to the end of this roller coaster ride. Now, I do want to mention that while we are oversold on the 4 hour, and that is a good sign, we might see a little bit of a bounce here. You have to realize that we can go oversold and continue selling off. This doesn't necessarily have to be the bottom. And look at what we saw back throughout all of September. When we kept running, we kept reaching overbought. We sold off a little bit to then just go on and break higher. So if you thought this was overbought and we were going to head lower from here, you know, come back down to this support level, that was wrong. We continue to be overbought, cool off a little bit, go back to overbought again at a higher level, cool off a little bit, go back to overbought. We do have some positives to talk about though. We do have a very, very bullish sign. We have the price dropping, however the RSI is picking up. Momentum is starting to shift. The negative is we also have a bearish divergence. We have the price selling off, but the RSI is rising. So we have a bullish and a bearish divergence. Bears and bulls are really pushing here. It's basically a tug of war battle right now. There is clear tightening up going on, and the price will soon break out. And I do suspect we are going to get a break to the upside. This is a descending wedge, which is a bullish pattern. Typically, you get a break to the upside. And remember, this is October. One of, if not the most bullish month for Bitcoin, especially on a halving year. And maybe we sell off a little bit more, but these are the last buying opportunities. In my opinion, we aren't going to see a 49K Bitcoin like we did back in August. As we get deeper into the cycle, I will see Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners as less and less of a buy, more of a sell if anything. To me, these are literally the last instances of being a buyer. Once Bitcoin breaks out of this pattern, look out. Don't chase. This is when you want to buy it. Better yet, this is when you want to buy it. Back when it was in the 20s, back when it was 15. But it is not too late in my opinion. But just know that the risk is higher buying here than buying back in 2022. We are later in the cycle. I don't think it's over, but I do think gains are diminished. Think about this. You know, if we do get a huge rally, I mean, Bitcoin's got to go to 120K just to make 100% here. I'm not saying it can't happen, but to think that you're going to get like a 5x from here is pretty unrealistic. To expect a 5x from the bear market lows is very realistic. And we have seen that so far. So just realize as Bitcoin goes higher in price, the risk is much higher, the potential for gains is much lower, unless of course you remain stoic and just buy and hold throughout every cycle. You can't go wrong there, but it is a longer term approach. Now I do want to talk about Cleanspark. They did release their mining update. They finished fiscal year 2024, okay, with 8,000 Bitcoin in their treasury. They reached 27.6 exahash and 552 megawatts of operational capacity at their wholly owned sites. And despite the halving, Cleanspark exceeds their fiscal year 2023 production. Now, as said by Zach Bradford, he starts off by thanking the communities that they operate in, all this support following Hurricane Helen. Power has been restored to all sites with exception of a 45 megawatt area, which is expected to be restored in the following days. During the past year, they grew their hash rate from 9.6 exahash to 27.6, 187% growth with a 5 exahash coming online just during the month of September. During this same period of rapid growth, you know, here's the thing, everyone is so bearish recently because of this recent drop, but people don't realize how far Cleanspark has come. It's like retail isn't here half the time or something. Retail forgets Bitcoin was 15K. Retail forgets that Cleanspark was under $2. You have people jumping in now, or people jumping in back when it was $20, believing that this company is horrible because they bought too high in price. Check this out. During this same period of rapid growth, our share price has increased approximately 145% compared to September 30 of 2023. That isn't even the bottom. These results come from successfully navigating the halving, closing multiple acquisitions, delivering significant organic growth, and even riding out a hurricane to close out the year. We have successfully worked our way through each opportunity, yada yada yada. Let's move on. Our expansion efforts have not slowed down, and we are actively racking miners at newly acquired sites at our existing facilities as part of our fleet upgrade plan. Through these efforts, we expect to reach 30 exahash during October of 2024. And looking ahead to fiscal year 2025, we're positioned to rapidly achieve our forecasted growth to 50 exahash and beyond. Now let's look into the numbers. Bitcoin mined in September, 493. Bitcoin mined for 2024, the year, not fiscal, is 5,079. The fiscal year, which is October of 2023 to September of 2024, was 7,098. Total Bitcoin holdings of 8,000. Before we know it, they will have 10,000 Bitcoin in holdings. They only sold 2.5 Bitcoin in September. I love to see that. That is fantastic. That is, in my opinion, the right move. Deployed fleet of 188,000 Bitcoin miners. That is insane. With a fleet efficiency of 21.94. That is fantastic. That efficiency is getting better and better. That means they'll see profits even sooner when Bitcoin goes up. But make no mistake, Bitcoin does still have to go up for these Bitcoin miners to be profitable. And they are at a month-end hash rate of 27.6 exahash. They sold this 2.5 Bitcoin at an average price of 58,287. Their peak hash rate reached 27.6 exahash. Their daily Bitcoin mined average was 16.43, a single day high of 19.5. Now, let me remind you guys that everything I go over will be down below for you. That article about the Bitcoin whales will be down below. This Cleanspark investor relations will be down below for you. Now let's look at Cleanspark's chart, and I want to show you a huge similarity. Look at what we saw last cycle. September, you know, we reached the peak kind of around fall of 2020, and then we dropped. We had a dramatic drop from like 15 bucks all the way down to like 7 bucks. People that got shaken out here didn't hold on, didn't follow the cycle, didn't follow Bitcoin's cycle, missed out. If they panic sold here when Cleanspark was $7, $8, $9, $10, they missed Cleanspark running up to 40s. It is not easy to hold from the beginning of a cycle or the low point of the last cycle to the end of this cycle. It is not easy. It takes a little bit of stubbornness. It takes a hard head. It takes conviction. It is not easy to hold something and to buy something while it's at its lows and get, you know, these huge runs where we go all the way to 13, drop all the way down to 6. Sound familiar? Imagine getting shaken out here and missing the run this cycle all the way to the 20s. Now we're experiencing a coolback, mainly due to dilution news. Also, Bitcoin miners in general have been pretty weak. Wall Street knows they're not profitable with Bitcoin at this price, but that will soon change. Now, as for Cleanspark, keep an eye on this 850. If we break this, we are going to test that 8. We are right here around that 850. We're either going to bounce here or we're going to break it and test 8. There is a possibility we fill this gap. If the market wants to take it there, so be it. It is up to you in the end to buy or sell, but in my opinion, do not get shaken out. Cleanspark just got through this dilution. While on the short term it sucks, on the long term this gives them access to capital to continue to grow. They were the most dilutive miner last cycle, and look what price still did. In the end, this is a Bitcoin miner. In the end, this is a company. And while the dilution sucks for shareholders on the short term, what does that allow an unprofitable company to do? It allows them to expand and grow rather than take out high interest rate debt, rather than sell Bitcoin at a time like this. What would you rather have? High interest rate debt, selling of Bitcoin right now, or dilution? Pick one. There's no other option. The other option is not holding Cleanspark. And if you think it's any different for any other Bitcoin miner, it's the same. They are all going to dilute, or they are going to take out debt, or they're going to sell their Bitcoin to fund growth, and some do. But like I mentioned, watch out for that gap. If we do get it, that might be our last buying opportunity. If you follow the cycle, we should be near our bottom. Maybe the bottom's the 7s. Maybe the bottom was back here in September, $8. Maybe we go lower. Maybe we fill out this longer term pattern and come all the way down to 650. If you've held Cleanspark long enough, you know this is just another day. This is nothing to worry about. Follow the cycle, follow the long term, and in my opinion, you can't go wrong. In the end, you have to develop the convictions for the stocks that you own. Otherwise, you will not hold during rough times. You will not hold during pullbacks. But anyways, let me know what you guys think about this Cleanspark mining update. How are you feeling about Bitcoin and Cleanspark right now? And if you were here last cycle, enlighten people on how the cycles work. Enlighten people of the volatility in these Bitcoin miners. Sometimes things are bad. Once retail gives up, suddenly things are great. In my opinion, the market will top out on euphoria, on FOMO, and we are not there, not even close. But let me know what you guys think. Where will Bitcoin top out at? Where will Cleanspark top out at? Is the top already in? Is this cycle going to be different than every other cycle? Thanks as always for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.